Oh boy, we are back. Oh yay, we are back. What are we gonna do? Do we continue with this testimony, request more testimony, or we give up? Request more testimony, why not? I'd like to hear more from Frost's story. You want to hear even more testimony? Hakan, my boy, what more is there for me to say? I hardly even know what I could be considered. I knew I could be considered a witness until yesterday. Are you sure about this? Kind of. There's one thing that seems interesting about Frost's story. Something that I feel like he's not mentioning for some reason. Time to lay out your hand, defense. What do you want Mr. Frost to testify about? I don't know. Adriana's presence, the tour, or after the patrol? Yes, of course. Mr. Frost, you've told us what happened during your patrol so far. What about what happened after it? What is there to say about that? Nothing happened then. Oh. It's an interesting testimony in and of itself. That's right. If you hung around to patrol the museum as you said, you should have more to say. You should have witnessed the work of this person. Is this Storm? Or Richard? No. What was that person doing? Nothing, ignore me. So obviously... What? Interrupted by door. Gerard, why? How long did that patrol last you anyways? Right, because Gerard moved the speaker back in. Just a few minutes. Why? Well, if you had to check each room, and were around long enough to catch the smell... Surely you'd have noticed White's men bringing that statue into the museum. Ah! That hideous statue! Hideous? Not what you said when he ordered he get it. Is it really that much of a stretch to assume he missed them by a minute or two? No way. Big display case like that. He'd at least have to have seen it as he was leaving. A very good point, defense. Witness, I personally find it hard to believe you didn't see these men with the statue. Would you please explain this issue for the court? What do you know, Frost? Oh, why not? It's not an issue, really. Truly, I just didn't think it was what you were all looking for. Apologies for the rash assumptions. Allow me to make amends by granting you all this testimony. Ahem! Post-patrol. Indeed, I became aware of those fiends' presence that morning. It wasn't long after I picked up that dastardly scent when I heard them coming. Hiding in the covers of the exhibit doorway, I saw 4 shady men carry that mud pile into my museum. After they left, I curiously examined our new artifact. In the end, I left, deciding there was nothing amiss. If only I had access to the key to the thing, I may have had a closer look. Oh, that's interesting. Fascinating. So you saw these men with your own eyes? That I did, though I saw no reason to suspect a thing. I apologize again for my constant errors throughout this case. Oh, it's fine, really. It's got nothing on the time I found a serpent hiding in one of my boots. You should have seen how I handled that. Ha! I pulled out my gun and shot it to shit. You really didn't suspect a thing? There weren't any bodies in there or anything? I wish I could have confirmed your theory to be true or not, but alas, all I can tell you is that I didn't see it from the outside. Oh, which adds up. Body was in the sarcophagus, after all. Not to mention, had he seen the body behind that top, well, we'd have heard about the murder sooner. Any objections so far, defense? Please, you know me. I'd like to save the objections for the cross-examination. So that's how it is. Very well then, Mr. Hakan. Begin at once. Okay. This is certainly a new fact. Don't be so hard on those poor guys. They probably didn't even know about that statue. Impossible. Their eyes were darting around nervously, and they were twitching the entire time. Textbook suspicious people is what they were. Why aren't they in jail? They would have been taken in for questioning by now, but we have no idea who they are. Find out then! They were taking orders from Gerard White. We'll look into it, witness. Just tell us more about what you saw. Alright. How did you hear them coming? I thought the walls were soundproof. Oh, forgive me for not being clear. What I actually heard was the entrance door opening. I was still in the sarcophagus exhibit, you see, so I hadn't seen them coming before then. But you still got a look at them, didn't you? Oh yes, it was brief, but I got a very good look. Hiding in the cupboard. By mud pile, I'm guessing you mean that statue. Ah, I'm more of a statue than that worthless slop. If I was still standing, I'd melt the thing myself. And more importantly, you said you actually saw these men. Would you be able to describe them? What? Where'd that come from? No, I'm afraid not. By sheer stupidity, I discarded their faces from my memory after leaving the museum. Because you see... What compelled you to do that? What wouldn't? 4 suspicious men you've never seen before came into a museum with a statue. You'd be curious, too. Wouldn't you? Now, please don't hit me. Apologies. Regardless, this did require some inspection, so I had a look. Alright. Nothing amiss. Why did you decide that? Why, it was the speaker, of course. One of the statues Gerard said he would have. I found it strange when it was nowhere to be seen on the morning of the ceremony. It was just late, as it turned out. Well, it was also a sham, but I didn't realize that at the time. Don't put too much of the blame on yourself. You couldn't have known. You did place immense trust in Mr. White, after all. Ah, but so much could have been avoided if were I not so careless. Only did I place false faith in Gerard, but I did not even so much as have the key. This is the interesting part. Well, why didn't you of all people have the keys? Because I'm too jealous of my own good, that's why. I gave Gerard full power over that museum. All of it, and none for me. I figured he would be far more capable of running it than me. I have a school to run too, you know. Okay, so because of that, you couldn't unlock the display case. So I couldn't have opened it up and had a closer look. If the body weren't in there, I could have at least verified it was fake. It's okay, we know the truth now, just calm down. Weird that I was only saying any of this now, isn't it? It is. It seems like he didn't want to have to testify about this. Why would he not want to? Doesn't it give him the chance to dump on White? I want to be careful with how I go about this, but this pony might actually be inconvenient for him. Feels like this is the part we need to worry about. I don't know where this is going, though. Statue's brought in. Hiding out in the sarcophagi. White left. Adriana left with the mayor, quote-unquote. I don't know. Actually... remember how Gerard White added his times to the door log? Show what he deleted? When did Frost leave?
Objection!
Is this what he's trying to hide? Knew you'd slip up here. Excuse me? Hope I haven't inconvenienced you in any way. No, don't worry. You haven't inconvenienced us at all. I just noticed a very big contradiction, that's all. Since you were at the trial yesterday, I'm sure you know of this door log. Yes, it was manipulated by that snake White. What of it? White told me there were 2 entries he removed from that log. One for when his men entered, and one for when they left. Now tell us, Frost, why isn't there a log for when you left?
Objection!
Please. All this means is that White deleted a 3rd log.
Objection!
Can you prove that claim? Because he specifically said 2. I would think it would go without saying. How else could Frost have left the museum? Did he walk through the walls? Well... did he walk through the walls, Mr. Hakan? Tell me. I swear to God if he did. Of course he didn't. Don't be stupid. And if you're so confident in this contradiction, explain it for us. How did Mr. Frost get out of the museum, if not the door? Sure. Happens next might be a little shocking, but I know what I'm doing. This is how Frost exited the museum. Through the window? There's really only one other possibility, considering the state of the museum. He left through the window. What? Oh, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Who could have done that? Mr. Frost can't fly. He didn't have to. The window was like a foot off the ground. What about the glass? The window wasn't broken at that time, was it? If it was, Mr. White's employees should have noticed. Wasn't that your claim yesterday? No, Judge. Working under Storm's logic here. Just a sense logic. Just think about it. It will make sense. The person who actually broke the window was Frost, then, right? It all makes sense. That was the only way he could have gotten out of the museum. What are you going on about? That girl broke the window. That's what the prosecutor said at the start. That's what he said, but that's not quite what happened. See, as the judge said, the window had to be intact when the statue guys came in. Means with our current assumptions, you could not have left the museum at all. Existence is an impossibility. Wait, you mean... I do. Adriana didn't break the window. Frost did! Yeah, here we go.
Objection!
Oh, that's conjecture, nothing more. Really? It seems well backed up to me. Lel, don't give me that. You're basing this on that fraud's testimony. You either lied or made a mistake, that's all there is to it. Now you're becoming a prosecutor, Storm. I'm afraid the burden of proof's on you for that one, Storm. If you can't prove White's testimony is a lie, the court has to accept this. You still can't deny the possibility that he made a mistake. Think! Do you really want to say that? So I could just as easily say he did that for Adriana. Think! Ugh. But what does this mean, defense? I can't understand why Mr. Frost would break a window in his museum. Nor can I see why it matters to us. That's exactly right. It's nothing, really. Is it really that big a deal? Very important. Of course it matters. Completely turned the prosecution's case on its head. Go on. What are you talking about, student? I said it doesn't matter. Your input doesn't matter, sir. If you broke the window at that time, this person could have used it to get in. Adriana! The prosecution's argument was that Adriana had to have waited around after the tour ended. That was the only way she could have been found at the museum. That's right. This makes her especially suspicious now that we know for sure the body was in the museum with her. However, you can no longer say for sure that that's how it went down. Because Frost was the one who broke the window from the inside. That means Adriana could have gotten in through the window. I'm not done yet. The other main point of your case is that nobody else could have gotten into the museum. But obviously that no longer holds either. In light of this, the prosecution's locker room theory has been blown wide open. But wait a minute, that's not right. Mr. Kingsley said he and the prosecutor ran into the crime scene when they heard glass break. We did. It was decided that the glass belonged to the window. The window was already broken before then. How does that work? Come on, Judge, this is obvious. Clearly the glass Richard actually heard belonged to this. The speaker. Glass we heard must have belonged to that display case. Display case for the speaker. That's right. That was the only other glass that broke at the crime scene. Well, congratulations, you've rearranged how the crime was committed. However, this does not clear Miss Lockhart of suspicion. Does it not? Let's work with your theory for a moment. Let's say Frost did, in fact, break the window to leave the museum. Once Adriana got into the museum through the window, she could have just recovered the body. But she would have deposited it in the sarcophagus earlier during the tour. And broke into the display case to leave the body inside. Why would you go out of her way to do something like that? I assume it was to confuse the investigation, considering that statue wasn't there before. Argus, can you... Confidence! You should let me finish, you know. Oh? You see, the fact that Frost was the one who broke the window is a lot more damning than you think. After all, it changes the reason the window was broken in the first place. Reason? Frost's reason was to get out of the museum, right? That's right, which means this piece of evidence suddenly looks very out of place. A gun. So, Frost, you were the one who broke that window. Perhaps. And you did this to get out of the museum? Yes. I assume the door was locked, so... I don't care about the reason. What matters is... that's the reason the window was broken. And where did this rifle come from? A murder weapon. The original explanation was that Adriana threw it out the window right as she noticed a storm outside. It doesn't make sense anymore. The glass that broke at the time was not the window, but the display case. Not to mention, there'd be no reason for her to just leave the rifle right outside the crime scene. Why do that when she was able to hide it much better while she was outside? Then, why is the rifle there at a fence? There's really only one explanation. It was put there to frame the defendant. Leaving that rifle there, the culprit could complete the perfect locked room they set up. What? But who could have done this, defense? Considering what we've learned so far, there's really only one possible suspect. The person who really discarded the rifle outside the museum window was... Frost again?
Take that!
Frost again? Who was the one who broke the window in the first place? I guess it was Mr. Frost. Me? Are you implying? I'm not just implying anything. You were the one who left the rifle outside the museum.
Objection!
Are you out of your mind? On what basis can you even think that? Well, he was the one who broke the window. He broke it from the inside, too, which created the illusion that no one could have gotten in through it. On top of that, he hasn't mentioned a word of any of this to anyone. Now, why is that? You boy! What are you suggesting with all this? You dare to tell them I'm the murderer? Yes, it's pretty obvious. You're the one who killed the mayor. You can't be serious. You have so little to base this accusation on. Please, reconsider. That's right. Are you sure we can handle this? After that last testimony, there's no way this man's innocent. He was the one who broke the window. There's only one reason why he would do that. To complete the locked room. That's right. Huh. What a fool I am for trusting you with this case, Hakan. Come and accuse me of all people. How blind I was. Guess you don't wear that monocle for nothing. Lil. Oh, you wish to mock me on top of it all. Well, I'm not the one to take an insult sitting down. Let me show you what a mistake it was to accuse me of this crime. Unbreakable alibis. The defense is spouting rubbish. I had no opportunity to kill Mr. Tim regardless of the time of death. Assuming he was killed on the day of the tour, I would not have been able to get him into the museum. If I killed him before the tour, he would have had to have been killed before the estimated time of death. If I killed him after the tour somehow, Whitesman would have heard the gunshot. Even if I managed to do this, I should have been found in the museum by Mr. Scent. If only that prosecutor was there when the display case's glass was broken. As for your idea that he was already in the statue, this would mean I killed him the day before. However, simply put, would have had no chance to even go meet with the mayor. Was, after all, worked to the bone all day in preparation for the grand opening. You can ask Gerard and co to confirm that you all seem to trust him over me. That's a long testimony. Holy shit. You know, I expected an argument, not a novel. Is that not enough for you? You want to hear even more reasoning? But I bring up that meeting I had shortly after my patrol. The window of time I could have killed him that morning was about 2 minutes. Okay, fine, I'll take this testimony. You've really pissed him off now. It just convinces me more and more that we're on the right track. I hope you are, because he seems very sure about his logic. I'm just gonna have to tear it all down then. Designed this crime to be unsolvable. Of course he'd come off as confident. If White hadn't been exposed as a fraud, I probably wouldn't have made it this far. And he's still probably hoping I won't be able to break his logic down. And that's exactly what I'm about to do. Oh boy. Here we fucking go. Let's see what happens. Oh, yes, you did. Oh, no, I didn't. Now shut up and let me speak. Fair. Why's that? I said shut up! Yeah! Argus, please think before pressing this man. I don't care about your questions, defense. Refute by logic or else. I'm really curious to see if we get penalized for pressing him too much. What makes you say that? Basic mathematics. You don't even need addition to realize it. When did the coroner deduce the time range of the victim's death? Sometime in between 10 and 11, assuming the body wasn't frozen. Good! Now what time did the museum officially open at? Right at 10 a.m. Bingo! Not hard to understand my point, is it? But hold on. What if you still froze the body anyway?
Objection!
Oh, come on. There's nowhere in the score where that could happen. Yeah. Now the defense is satisfied. Maybe they weren't at the museum at that time. No, they could not have been far. They had a heavy statue to drag into the museum, you know. But if I killed him after that, it would logically have been much closer to the school. And no one would have heard the gunshot. But that's not all. Did this thing have a silencer on it? Did you? Of course I didn't. I did not think you would make me laugh at this point. I was wrong. No, you nut, of course you didn't see me, because I wasn't there. Now, if you want to talk about who we did see... Maybe I should forget about the possibility that you killed him at that time. Good, good. That's a step in the right direction. I suppose now you're going to suggest I killed him the day before, is that right? It fits with my original theory, so why not? I'll give you a perfect reason why not. Yes? Is your strategy here to hold me up every 5 seconds for no reason and piss me off? Hey, yeah, it's working, right? Sorry, I won't do it again. Oh, how I wish we could hold you to that. Why would you do that? To kill him? Is that not the point of all this? Ah, I see, this was just a joke all along. Wouldn't that be easy? Not at all. First of all, the mayor would have been sitting by the fire at home at this time. I, however, was at the school all day. What exactly were you doing to prepare for this? Several things. Selling the last of the student tickets, preparing my speech, counting my money, and of course, supervising Gerard's work. I guess I am relying on his word a bit much. Don't worry, sir. It's not too late to join me on the light side. Never! That's a lot of statements to sort through. We'll be fine. If Billy's the killer, there must be a hole in his logic somewhere. Once we're familiar with when the mayor died, we should be able to narrow down the suspect's statements. You really know when he died? Of course! It's been an entire trial over this. I'm gonna try something. Oh no, that might not work, because silencer is long distance. Yeah. Nice alibi, Frost, except that it's neither nice nor an alibi. Look at this and back down. Oh, Your Honor, what do you think? What should I think of that? What even is that? Argus, where'd your underpants come from? It's freaking evidence? Okay, that was good. Let's undo that. Oh boy. Okay, I think I have a clue here. I was just kind of messing around off screen, because didn't he go out and delivering? Yeah, I was presenting the flyer, but I should have been presenting, yeah, the invitation. Beautiful, we're finally getting back to my old theory. What's this? Do you have an answer for me somehow? Of course. Did you expect any less of me? As you've told the court, you had no chance to even meet with the mayor. Therefore, twisting that wording around, you did not meet with him. If I got that right. Those statements sound just about the same to me. That's interesting, because that's clearly not true. As you told us, Frost, you delivered these invitations to special guests personally. That would include the mayor, of course. Yes. Well, there you have. Solid evidence that you did, in fact, meet with the mayor. Alibi down, give up.
Objection!
Oh, wow. Not so fast, student. What's the matter? Scared you don't have a layer of protection anymore? Oh boy. Oh, you haven't even scraped the surface off my alibi. But August has a point. Not to mention you did lie about this. Oh, cast your suspicions aside, prosecutor, with just a minor error. It's still possible for you to have killed the mayor at that time. What are you talking about? I'm talking about a concept this court is quite familiar with, I've heard. Time. Remember, I was only out for about an hour to deliver these invitations. So how could I have been so fast that I could kill the mayor? Send him off to the warehouse to stuff his body in the display case. Carry on with my deliveries and make it back to the school without raising wide suspicions. That's an impossibility if I ever heard one. What do you mean without raising wide suspicion? Any excuse would do. Why you'd run an hour late or so, anything works. But you don't understand, my boy. I didn't return later than expected. I was perfectly on schedule. I'd even ask White and all of his men to verify this. Did you not get the idea when we discussed this at my office yesterday? What? Well, maybe you met with them later that night? Sorry, but that wouldn't work. X House closes at 8 p.m. every night. And by that time, Frost was still busy with White, as he told me. Even if he did kill the mayor at that time, he couldn't have put him in the statue case. Of course I didn't. The only valid time I could ever have killed him that day was during the deliveries. Even that doesn't work. He does have a point. There's no way he could have done all that in just an hour. Wait, maybe onto something, Richard. I am? Just narrating our situation. You're right, Frost. You couldn't have done all this in an hour. I'd say there was one thing here you didn't do. Is that so? Everything seems to check out to me, according to your logic at least. Because it falls to me to explain once again. Next thing Frost didn't actually do was, he didn't deliver the invitation? The main focus of your alibi is that you had deliveries to make, right? Exactly. I spent 1 hour delivering all those invitations to my guests. It was the only time I left the school until the night. I don't think it's that simple. What you actually used that time for was killing the mayor. As for the invitations, I don't think many of them even met their recipients. Impossible! You and I received invitations from the man himself. That's why I said most. Probably gave a few to people nearby, just to avert suspicion. So that is kind of weird. Think about it later. Point is to give himself time to do the deed. He killed the mayor first, and then got rid of the invitations.
Objection!
Nonsense! I sent out an invitation to every last one of those guests. Hence, I assume you have evidence to back up your claim. Of course I do! Wouldn't make this claim without it. And let's see it. What evidence proves Frost didn't deliver the invitations? The poor turnout at the flyer. At the grand opening, that is. You told me something interesting about the grand opening ceremony, Storm. I did? What did I say? Among other things, one thing you made note of was the low turnout. It's almost like a large portion of invited guests didn't turn up. The guests I invited didn't come, and the turnout was smaller than expected. So what? Haven't you been paying attention, Frost? The issue wasn't that the guests didn't feel like turning up. But you didn't invite them in the first place. Alright. Order. So that's what happened. Mr. Frost, is any of this true? What I will not do as an answer, Mr. Frost. It's true that you didn't actually invite these guests. Don't bother lying. We can go ask the guests ourselves if you didn't admit it. Fine. The truth is, we didn't have that many guests to invite. I just got lost looking for one of them. Just said that is, but I found him eventually. Good enough for you? No, of course it's not. Leaves a good part of your delivery time open as an opportunity to kill the victim. You can't talk your way out of that now. That time you should have been delivering invitations. You killed the mayor and took him down to the warehouse. All so that you could throw off the time of death.
Objection!
Wait 1 second, student. What now? Maybe my alibi doesn't hold water anymore. But you're not out of the woods yet. Far from it. What more is there to explain? You're already shady enough as is. Allow me to follow along with your logic for now. For funsies, you see. Accusing me of killing the mayor the day before the ceremony? You are standing by your claim that I put the body in the display case, yes? Of course. That's the only way this would make sense. Well, even if we ignore a certain point for a moment, there's still the entire matter surrounding the warehouse itself. The warehouse. You're treading on thin ice, Mr. Frost, but we'll hear you out. Tell us about the issues involving the warehouse. Alright. Trouble at Hex House. Sadly, killing the mayor that day before the ceremony is not as simple as just shooting the man dead. There's still the matter of taking the body into the warehouse. Any place with security would at least raise an eyebrow if I were carrying a dead body, you see. Maybe White could have used some other artifact to contain it by some means. He was responsible for those, meaning I would have no access to such containers. If I got him into the warehouse, I still couldn't have gotten him into the display case. Because Gerard would have had the keys for them, not me. Oh lordy. That's a lot of arguments, sir. Oh, that's what happens when you make an accusation without thinking. You look very confident for someone who killed a man, Frost. Do I? I assume you're ready to explain these problems away. Yep, all of them. I can't explain all these problems at once. Sure, shouldn't be too hard. Good luck, then. Get the feeling this may take a while. Should we begin tackling the witnesses' arguments, Mr. Hakan? Oh, boy. Oh, lordy. It's gonna take a while.
Hold it!
Explain. You really know how to wind me up, don't you? Fine, it's just so eager you could have a double serving of explanations.
Hold it!
Oh, that's no big deal. Oh, you think? Don't be saying that. What you consider this?
Hold it!
Well, you are running a museum, you know. Just tell them it's an artifact, and I'm sure they'd... Yes, an artifact of the mayor with blood dripping from his head. There's no way that would be a controversial exhibit. Okay, then maybe it just hid it somehow. How could I have done that? Would it not have looked strange if I came in with a big bag, hid the body of the statue, and left with the bag? Like the statue itself. Like the statue itself, yes. Sorry to say, though, that had been put there since well before I went to deliver the invitations. Don't worry, that makes too much sense for me to disagree. Just gotta work out how you got the body to the speaker in the first place. Simple enough. Maybe you used a container that wasn't a part of the museum. I think something like that would stick out. Maybe a little, but I'm sure there was something that wouldn't raise too much suspicion. And conceal the mayor at the same time. Who sent that blanket? I wasn't going to. Move on. Okay. What if I present it here? What do you mean? All I had to do is pull the handle and swing the glass door towards you. There was a simple matter of putting the body in and then doing the first two steps in reverse. It's very simple. Yes, but I was missing the one thing I needed to do all that. You could have easily just stolen them from him. Stolen from them when he was looking. Easily? He would have been keeping them in his pocket, if not his office. And no, I'm not some street rat who's mastered the art of pickpocketing, so... Pickpocketing? Is that the posh tick-tocking? So try again. If he wasn't, such a claim would require proof. I doubt you have proof of something like that. Just throwing out an idea. Yes, well, you may want to try dropping that habit in the future. Yes, Mr. Hakan, I can You tolerate your nonsense in such short bursts. Sorry, everyone. What's got him now? All gonna do is tear down any argument he makes about this warehouse. That won't be all, though, you know. There's still that other thing. Forget about that for now. We'll deal with that when we get to it. Hopefully we'll find an explanation for that somewhere along this thread of logic. Which is getting sadder and sadder. We did find a big container.
Objection!
What are you trying to pull here, Frost? There was a container right there in the warehouse. Doesn't this chest look good enough?
Objection!
Did I tell you only White had access to those things? Now, but this doesn't exactly look like an artifact, does it? I, for one, wouldn't go to a museum just to see a dirty chest like this. That and there's the fact it's still at the warehouse, right now. Exactly! There's one other thing. Other what? What do you mean by thing? What, don't like my ambiguity? There's one other aspect about this chest that makes it like it was carrying the body. Size? Size. Look how big it is and tell me the mayor wouldn't fit in it.
Objection!
The chest may have been able to contain the mayor, so... Yes, sadly the size of the chest doesn't mean much. It could very well just be a very big chest, nothing more.
Objection!
Wait, that's not all. Still something actually suspicious about this chest. This ought to be good. Oh, its contents. Do you know what we found in this chest, Frost? Blood, DNA, buckets. 3 buckets. That's it. That's it. They were fairly big buckets. That's not much for such a large chest. At least plenty of space for something else. Something like the body. Ah, that's quite an assumption. But what else do you suppose was in there? More buckets? Artifacts for the museum? What could have simply had them stored in the chest? If they did that, then why are there even buckets in there? Who cares what the buckets are doing in there? Actually, there might be something behind that. Isn't it possible that you put those buckets in there? I guess we can say that the chest actually contains something. What are you insinuating now? Found a big mare-sized chest there in the warehouse and found nothing in it. It'd be way more suspicious than one that just has buckets, don't you think? Yeah! Okay, that's fair. Ah, those buckets. Ah, I ignore that outburst. What I meant to say is... Don't bother saying anything, witness. I'll check with White if that chest is his. Maybe his men can confirm when roughly it first appeared in the warehouse, too. You'd do that for us? Might as well. You've raised a valid point. I'd like you to know what a stretch this valid point was, Hakan. I'll give you this one. You have one, sir. Or even if I could have gotten him into the warehouse, I'd still be stopped at the display case. That's right, now we're getting somewhere. Did you stop me just to brag? Well, no matter. Ah! Oh no! I'm in danger. There is something else. The key rack. That's what this is for. Do I actually have the keys on him, though? I assume so. They certainly weren't on me. You're not assuming anything. You knew exactly where the keys were. They were right there in the warehouse.
Objection!
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that key doesn't unlock the display cases. I'm not talking about the key that's there right now, Storm. Look at the number of hooks of the key rack. 2 of them are unused. They must have been used to hold the keys for the display case. Oh, is that how it is? I'm just going to throw out ideas and see if the court accepts them. That's the plan. Your plan's a bust. We can't even know if the keys were even there. Actually, there might be some way to prove that. Prosecutor! This key rack, as I observed, does not actually belong to the warehouse. It belonged to the academy. Meaning if they put it there, they must have intended to keep the display case's keys there too.
Objection!
Are you too blind? There's a key right there. I can accept that the academy wanted to hold at least one key here. But that could very well have just been for that one key. You're saying why put the key rack for the key that's already on it? But be careful. Can I prove there's a problem with that? I don't know. Why not? Let's do it. Wait right there. There's something wrong with that. Oh ho! This should be interesting. Truth is, why do you not bring the rack to the warehouse for it to hold just the key that's still there? Proof of that is... I don't actually have proof of this. Shit. But we've just gone over. You're the one who brought this chest to the warehouse, not White. It means there must have been keys here before you came along with your chest. Not bad. Oh, okay. I guess that... yeah. Is that all you got? Suppose that's all. Steps that it was possible for me to do all this. Theoretically. However, I deny it all. What more can you even dispute? Consider this, student. I didn't even know where the warehouse was. What? Of course you did. Why do you say that? I had no business with them, you know. Why don't you go accuse White of all this? Hold on, the staff saw you. That means nothing, prosecutor. Remember that they were aiding for White in his fraud scheme. It's surely not a stretch that they'd back him up by telling you that I did it. I don't even know if they were actually in on that. Bah, they are still far too suspicious to accept testimony from... So if you'll excuse me, I'll be on my way. Hold it right there. Give us a moment to think about that statement. Stubborn, aren't you? Very well. I'll give you one last statement, but that's it. How's to feel that noose around your neck, Frost? How's to feel that swelling head, Hakan? Can you get to the point already? Ah yes, my apologies. You were the one responsible for funding the project, weren't you? Yes, and Gerard was the one who decided where exactly that money went. Oh sure, once I proved you knew of the warehouse, though, you are finished. What's got him now? All I do is tear down any argument he makes about this. Oh, okay, so his ginormous argument gets summed up when we start proving him wrong. That's neat. I like that. That won't be all it. Yeah, that just got all wrapped up nice and neat once we started proving him wrong. Discard. Sorry, Frost, but blatant lies don't faze by me. He's lying about this. Yes. Don't you remember, Storm? Remember where I said I got this from? What's that, a business card? Yes. This card belongs to Hex House, today's Star Warehouse. The important thing about this card is who I got it from. It was you. Anton Frost. From me, you say? You did say that. Well, isn't that interesting?
Objection!
Is that all you've got, student? Whoops. We only have your word that this happened. Why would I even give you that if it would incriminate me? That makes 0 sense. Wait, Argus, Storm, do you think? Think what? think? Give us the business cards so we would go to the warehouse. What would be the point? That. Frost, it was you, wasn't it? You sent us there so you could trap us in the freezer. What are all these accusations? Your Honor, cease this tomfoolery. These accusations haven't any ground to stand on. My lord, please consider Richard's words. It's true that something like this happened. I was there too. It was Frost who gave Argus the card. It's very likely this was his plan. Mr. Frost is right. Judge! My lord! While you three seem to agree on this point, what you're lacking is evidence and even testimony. No way. I'm sorry, defense and prosecution, but I cannot accept this as evidence against Mr. Frost. Well, crud. How sad. But what does it matter? We never stood a chance in the first place. Don't act too overconfident. We're missing some decisive evidence. So submitted the possibility, at least, that you did it. This would be sad if I wasn't so amused. Have you all forgotten? The defense's theory doesn't even work. Eh? Honestly, I even went over this right at the start of the trial. The mayor was killed on the day of the ceremony. The truth. Goblin went over right at the start of the trial. While I was patrolling the museum after the tour, I caught the scent of the mayor's body. Specifically, it was coming from one of the sarcophagi, one which also holds the mayor's DNA. There can therefore be no question that the mayor's body was in that sarcophagus, which renders your statue theory utterly impossible. Oh boy, how do we disprove that now? I knew this hadn't been forgotten. And he's right. The mayor's body really was in that sarcophagus. He couldn't have been in the statue after all, could it? Argus, this is good. It is? At a dead end with the warehouse. This gives us more testimony to work with. The thing is, I don't know if we could even get anything out of it. You've gotta press the hell out of it and find an opening. Let's see why we're going over this again, but fine. You may cross-examine the witness, defense. What are you thinking, Storm? Truth. Right? I mean, when we, the defense, said we were proudly going to move forward with our theory. Proudly? I don't know how you can still have such a rich sense of humor at this point. But no, obviously I'm referring to my own testimony. May I be reminded of what you told us in that testimony? Sorry about this, it's just that I'm getting old and all this excitement distracted me. Of course. Just for you, Your Honor. While I was patrolling the museum after the tour, I caught this... For the nth time, it does not prove that the mayor was actually in there. It would have been a dead rat or something.
Objection!
For the n+1th time, that doesn't matter. What matters is we know for sure the mayor's body was in there. There isn't much dancing around that point, I'm afraid. But we certainly did dance around it for quite a while. The point is, Mr. Hakan, my testimony only serves to back up this fact up slightly. Could you perhaps forget about the forensics report? Storm, was there really so much DNA found in the sarcophagus? Yes. More than enough to suggest that the mayor's body had been stuffed in there. As I pointed out, the blanket should have been covering the body. As I pointed out in response, the blanket could have come loose. Lack of blood may be seen as a problem. As long as his head was tightly covered, none of it should have spilled onto the sarcophagus. Regardless, the DNA proves the mayor was in the sarcophagus. Unless you have any ideas why he'd be monkeying around in there while he was still alive. Why on earth would he do that? Exactly. Okay. But couldn't you have done that? How do you propose that? Remember that nobody entered the museum before 10 AM, which brings us out of the time of death range. kind that I'd been with the few guests we had, from then until just after 10:30. And that I had a meeting with White at 10:45. There was no time for me to go kill the mayor and bring his body into the museum. It therefore must have been anyone but me who killed the mayor. What about Adriana Lockhart? I don't care what happens to her anymore. Yes, if she were waiting behind after the tour. As the prosecutor argued, she is suspicious. If that window broken ahead of time, the suspect pool does increase to everyone else except me. Though I'm sure the prosecutor still has something in mind for Miss Lockhart, eh? Keep going. Alright. So we've established that somebody was to put the body in the sarcophagus. It's really impossible. Okay, let me walk you through this theory. When was the mayor's body put in the statue case? The day before the ceremony. Would the body have been put in the sarcophagus before then? Maybe if you brought the body to the museum first. It would take too long. Leave an entry on the door log. One I can verify doesn't exist, by the way. None of the entries for that day are out of place. And did the body ever leave the statue that night? No. The body had made it from the statue to the sarcophagus after it arrived in the museum. It was found inside the display case. There was very little time, so no. And there you have it. It's impossible. Objection? Ruled, Mr. Hakan. See, Mr. Frost is right. This theory was impossible all along. No. Lighten up, Mr. Hakan. Look on the bright side. The prosecution doesn't have much of a case against your client anymore. She'll be let free. That's nice, isn't it? Staying silent, are you? I guess you oughta. To think I come down to help and get treated like a criminal. Me, for crying out loud. I am sorry this happened. You may take your leave. I'd say finally, but I suppose I was the one who dragged the trial out. You have my deepest apologies, sirs. Mr. Hakan? Yes, sir. Go on back to my office tomorrow morning. I'd like a word with you. Thank you for your time, gents. Well, seems we have reached the end at last. What? What happened? I had him. Well, Well, it cannot be said that this mystery has been resolved at all. Guessing that Miss Lockhart no longer holds. It's not enough. Mayor's killer has just walked out of here like he did nothing wrong. There's no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant, Adriana Lockhart. Someone's just going to object? Who's objecting? Who's objecting?
Objection!
Storm! No further reason to prolong this trial. Is that a fact, my lord? But, of course it is. There's no further reason to suspect Miss Lockhart of the crime. With what we know now, perhaps so. But remember, my lord, I came to this trial with 2 witnesses. Oh, you did say that. What is there for this witness to add? Believe me, my lord, not only will this witness drag attention back to the defendant, he will fully, indisputably nullify the defense's entire case. Thanks, I haven't got enough of that already today. You must mean Legrand. A bartender. How could he have seen that so damning? I guess I'll allow it. This court will briefly adjourn for a recess so Mr. Sen can prepare his next witness. That'll be the last witness for the day. Do I make myself clear? Crystal, my lord. Don't worry. I won't regret hearing this. On that note,